During the PAX wilderness training, my adopted sister, Tessa, shoved me from a cliffside thick with wolfsbane. My alpha, Fenrir, turned and left with Tessa feigning injury in his arms, leaving me for dead at the bottom of the ravine. I died instantly, but my soul lingered, watching everything with cold detachment. I watched as Tessa's tearful complaints swayed him into blaming me for my own disappearance. Will Celine ever stop causing me trouble? She's weak and always looking for trouble. How could she possibly be fit to be our Luna? He had no idea I was already dead at the bottom of that cliff choked with wolfsbane. 5 whole days. The poison hit my bloodstream like liquid fire, racing through my veins with merciless speed. As my body decayed under the moonlight, my love for him faded with it. The title of Luna, the magnificent coronation I had dreamed of, everything I once cherished was now meaningless. The Celine who loved him was well and truly dead. My soul drifted in the air. The wolf within me long since fallen silent. I was pushed from a cliff by the sister I grew up with, dying instantly as the wolfsbane below delivered its poison. Perhaps the moon goddess pitied me, leaving a sliver of my soul behind to witness the end of my old life. The moments before my death were still so vivid, the memory alone sent a chill through me. Sister, you're being so careless. My adopted sister, Tessa, steadied me at the cliff's edge, her voice laced with concern. Up together. Why would I ever hurt you? Her hand gently stroked my back, an intimate, comforting gesture between sisters, right before she shoved me hard. In an instant, the thorny stems of the wolfsbane below pierced my skin. The wolfsbane burned through my body, each breath becoming a struggle as my lungs seized. I tried to scream, but only strangled gasps escaped my throat. My wolf whimpered once before falling completely silent, severed from me forever. Every nerve felt like it was being torn apart, the agony so intense that I welcomed the approaching darkness. I could felt my life slipping away. Soon everything fell silent. My body lay at the base of Moonridge Cliffs, hidden behind a massive stone monument. No one even noticed the gash a sharp rock had torn in my hand, the blood a stark stain against the grayish-white cliff face. The crimson stain spread across the rock like a grim, beautiful flower. Every so often, I saw a group of shifted wolves race down from the mountaintop, their claws clattering against the stone. Alpha, there's no sign of the Luna here. They were reporting to Fenrir. It was laughable. I was so obviously dead, yet no one had found me. But even in death, I still cared about Fenrir's reaction. One of the perks of being a spirit was hearing everyone's mind link. When Fenrir heard there was still no news of me, he launched into a tirade. Where has she run off to now, forcing me to deploy the entire guard to search the mountain? Why couldn't she just stay put? Does she enjoy making me waste days searching for her? Is she that unaware of her own weakness? Can't she go one day without causing a scene? Deep in the autumn mountains, the freezing night was filled with the howls of wolves. At first, my spirit didn't dare stray far from my body. I lingered by my corpse, enduring the loneliness of death while clinging to the fantasy that Fenrir would come for me. He's my alpha. I thought he wouldn't really just leave me here. But as night fell, darkness enveloped everything. Pairs of glowing wolf eyes flickered in the gloom, and threatening growls from wild beasts echoed in the distance. My soul trembled as I could only watch the beasts circle and sniff at my corpse. My body began to reek of decay, though thankfully the cold mountain air slowed the process. I was used to it. Fenrir had always seen me as delicate, a burden useless. Whenever a problem arose, no matter how I explained, his response was always the same. Are you faking it for sympathy again? What trick are you playing now? Whatever. I didn't want to argue anymore. Let him think what he wanted. I floated back to the pack. A young Omega in the search party couldn't help but mutter as he reported back. Alpha, the Luna should have returned by now. Have you felt anything wrong through your mate bond? Fenrir's brow suddenly furrowed. His heart stuttered, and he was about to say something when Tessa, at his side, cut in. She covered her mouth with a shocked expression. Are you a close friend of my sister's? The warrior she questioned shook his head, bewildered. No, I don't know the Luna at all. It was his first day on the search team. He didn't even know all his teammates, let alone me. Tears instantly welled in Tessa's eyes, her voice choked with emotion. Oh, I see. I thought you were a friend of my sister's, showing your concern for her. I suppose I read too much into it. It's just when you defended her so strongly, I worried people might get the wrong impression. I don't want my sister's reputation to be damaged. After all, she is the Luna of our pack. As she spoke, she looked at Fenrir, her eyes welling with innocent, aggrieved tears. Just as she'd planned, Fenrir's expression instantly darkened like a sky before a storm. His alpha's power radiated through the area. He turned to the warrior who had just spoken, his voice as cold as frost. You're demoted to Omega duties, effective immediately. Let me make something clear. I am your alpha. The mate bond is none of your business. If anyone else dares to forget their place, their fate will be far worse. At his words, everyone flinched and stepped back, terrified they would be next. Only Tessa stepped forward, tears still glistening on her cheeks. I just don't know where sister could have run off to. Alpha, sister didn't mean it. She was spoiled growing up, a bit willful. Pushing me must have just been a fit of temper. She probably just ran off to play. Please don't be angry with her. Tessa played her part perfectly. She had effortlessly convinced Fenrir that I was the one who pushed her, and that my disappearance was just me running off in a huff. Hearing this, Fenrir's rage flared. Celine should be grateful your arm isn't seriously injured. Otherwise, I'll have her confined the moment she returns. The way she is now, she is in no way fit to be a Luna. A hollow, soundless laugh escaped me. Just as he wished, I could never be his Luna again. My soul continued to drift, watching my body grow stiffer in the cold wind. With no one to talk to, I was getting terribly bored. I suddenly thought back to our youth, to how brilliant Fenrir had been. The entire werewolf world knew that the alpha of the Silver Moon pack was young, promising, and incredibly powerful. He had a line of she-wolf admirers stretching from the northern to the southern borders. Compared to him, I seemed almost insignificant. It's laughable now, but I fought with everything I had to keep him. I tried everything, crying, pouting, pleading. I found ways to drive away any she-wolf who got too close to Fenrir. Everyone said I was a possessive lunatic. Until my 18th birthday, on the night of the full moon, when the entire pack gathered in the temple square. The silver light of the moon goddess shone down, creating a bridge of light between Fenrir and me that only fated mates could see. You are my one and only mate, he had said, looking at me with a tenderness I had never seen before. I felt it had all been worth it. In getting Fenrir, I had gotten the entire world. I naively believed it was because he loved me. Looking back now, it was probably just the pride he felt in having a pure-blooded Luna. And now, here was Fenrir, standing before the massive floor-to-ceiling window of the command center. His tall frame cast a long shadow, blocking the sunlight that streamed in from outside. He knew I could be willful, but the sudden weakening of our mate bond filled him with an unease he couldn't shake. Damn it, he cursed to himself. What the hell is Celine playing at? Is she trying to make me worry again? Expand the search radius, he commanded from the command center. Leave no stone unturned. I want the Luna found and brought back to me within 3 days. He dispatched more search parties, mobilizing nearly all the pack's warriors. Fenrir always was an alpha who cared about his image, I knew that. The whole pack was waiting for the Luna coronation to proceed as scheduled, and he wouldn't allow me to make a fool of him in front of everyone. He was probably thinking that when I returned, he would finally have to teach me a lesson, to put me in my place. Just then, Tessa came to his side, gently reminding him, Fenrir, you haven't slept all night. You need to take care of yourself. Your Luna wouldn't want to see you run yourself into the ground. Fenrir ignored her. As he put on his coat, preparing to lead a team to the cliffs himself, Tessa suddenly collapsed. Ah, she cried out in pain. What is it? Fenrir immediately spun around to support her. My ankle, I think I twisted it. Tessa's eyes welled with tears. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be causing you more trouble at a time like this. Don't be ridiculous. Fenrir frowned, examining her injury. We need to treat this first. No, you have to find my sister. I'll be fine, Tessa insisted through a grimace of pain. Your old injury hasn't even healed. How can you be fine like this? Fenrir shook his head. I'll leave the search to the others. I'm taking you to the pack infirmary first. And just like that, Fenrir, who should have been heading for the cliffs, was successfully sidetracked by Tessa. My soul watched it all, a deep sense of irony filling me. I was lying at the bottom of a cliff waiting for him to find me, and yet he was tending to the very person who pushed me. Do you think something might have happened to my sister? Tessa asked, her voice laced with worry. What are you talking about? Fenrir reassured her. Celine has pulled this stunt too many times. I know her. She'll come back when she's tired of her games. He thought this time was just like all the others, that I was having a little tantrum and would be back in a few days after making him worry. That before long, I'd come crawling back like a dog, begging for his love. What a fool. Did the great Alpha not even feel the bond between us fading, bit by bit? I thought of my bruised, purplish corpse, of the horrifying marks left by the wolfsbane's poison. As my body decayed, our mate mark was gradually dimming. Night fell, and the pack's search parties returned, exhausted. Alpha, we've searched the northern forest. Nothing. The western river valley has been searched as well. Still nothing. Fenrir's expression grew darker, anxiety gnawing at him. Continue tomorrow, he said through gritted teeth. Let's see just how far she can run. And my soul, at the bottom of the cliff, watched it all in silence. Another day passed. He still hadn't found me. My body had begun to show obvious signs of decay. I watched as wild dogs tore at my body, my arms and legs a bloody, mangled mess. To think I, who had always prized beauty, once cared so much about my appearance. I had even personally helped design the gown for the Luna coronation. I had to be the most beautiful one, to ensure Fenrir's eyes were only for me. I just never imagined I would die in such an ugly way. Today, Fenrir's search order was for the Southern Valley. But suddenly, the command center had a visitor. It was Tessa's brother, Sean. I didn't understand how a waste of space like him could even set foot in the pack's command center. After all, even I knew that Tessa's long-lost biological brother was a notorious rogue who had done nothing but cause trouble. His presence here meant trouble. But I had to admire Tessa's cleverness. For 3 days, she had used every trick in the book to keep Fenrir from searching the site himself. She knew that if his mate Bond got too close to me, he would surely sense that something was wrong. I hear Celine is missing? Sean asked, feigning concern. I was traveling outside and ran into some rogues. They said they saw a she-wolf near the abandoned mines to the east. Could it be Celine? The news clearly caught Fenrir's attention. He shot his head up. The east? Are you sure? Not entirely, but it's a lead. It's worth checking out, Sean nodded. And so, the search party that should have been scouring the cliffs was diverted in the opposite direction by Sean's false intel. My soul could only watch helplessly as they moved farther and farther away. I silently cursed his stupidity, but no one could hear me. Tessa whispered in Sean's ear, "Well done, brother. Keep distracting them. We can't let them find that bitch's body." Sean gave a sinister smile. "Don't worry. I have my ways." He was being played, and he couldn't even see it. It was only just before I fell that I learned how much Tessa hated me. "My sister, you're so careless." Her voice was as gentle as a spring breeze, her hand stroking my back. An intimate, comforting gesture between sisters. The moment I let my guard down, her lips drew close to my ear. Her voice suddenly turned venomous and cruel. "Just die. The pack doesn't need a weak Luna." That push, she'd put all her strength into it. I had no time to react before I was plunging into the abyss. And her voice still echoed in my ears. "You'd better just die here. The place by Fenrir's side was always meant to be mine." So from the very beginning, she had wanted me dead. While spouting words of sisterly affection, she had viciously pushed me off the cliff. Then, she found a suitable spot on the training grounds to lie down. After making sure no one was around, she quickly drew a small dagger from her boot. Without a moment's hesitation, she carved a deep gash in her own arm. Blood gushed out instantly. She gritted her teeth, enduring the pain, and squeezed the wound to make it bleed even more. Then, she threw the dagger off the cliff, destroying the evidence. She tore her clothes, smeared dirt on her face, and messed up her hair. Once everything was ready, she began to scream for help. By the time Fenrir rushed over via Mindlink, Tessa was lying there weakly, and I was already dead at the bottom of the cliff, poisoned by wolfsbane. Tessa told Fenrir she didn't know where I'd gone, that we had gotten separated during training. And just like that, Fenrir was lured back to the pack to tend to her, leaving my body to lie alone at the base of the cliff. I was silently consumed by the lethal poison, until every last breath of life was gone. What was I thinking, in those last moments before death? I thought of the day my father first brought Tessa home, telling me that from then on, I had a sister. I thought of the many happy times Tessa and I had shared. I also thought of that terrible war, where Fenrir held me tightly, telling me not to be afraid. But back then, what I feared most wasn't losing someone I loved, but being alone. Ever since I watched my parents die in the pack war, I'd had an indescribable fear of being alone. But at that time Fenrir was still there for me. From that day on he became the person I trusted most in the world aside from my parents. My mate. That was why I had joined them for this wilderness training. I wanted to be by Fenrir's side as much as possible. Even with Tessa there, I wanted to try to connect with him. I never thought I would lose my life in the depths of a ravine. Remembering the despair of my final moments, my soul couldn't help but tremble. The physical agony and mental torment rushed back all at once. For a full day, the search party scoured the eastern mines, coming up with nothing. Fenrir's mood grew agitated. The faintness of the mate bond made him restless. Why can't they find her? He paced anxiously in the command center. Where in the world did she go? 3 days. It was longer than any of my previous tantrums had ever lasted. He was done waiting for me to come back. Tessa gently handed him a cup of hot tea. Fenrir, you haven't rested properly in 3 days. If you keep this up, even if you find my sister, you won't have the strength to care for her. I'm not tired, Fenrir waved her off. Celine might have run off to another pack this time. She still isn't back. At this point, my corpse was barely intact. Where could I have possibly run to? But that hardly mattered anymore. When the mate bond finally severed, he would find out sooner or later. I suddenly found myself wondering, if he knew the truth, how would he react? Would he feel any regret? I had been dead for 4 days when the Great Elder, the most respected member of our pack, broke his seclusion, having sensed the alarming fate of the Luna's life force. He came to the command center in person. The moment I saw the venerable old man, my soul stirred with excitement. After my parents died in the war, it was the Great Elder who took my hand and saw to it that I was cared for. He told me himself that if I was ever wronged, I should come to him. No matter what, he would have my back. In front of Fenrir, the Great Elder reached a trembling hand toward his own forehead. Her spirit has left her body. The mate bond is so faint, it's nearly extinguished. The Great Elder's face turned ashen. Great Elder, what are you saying? Fenrir's expression turned grim. The Luna is just throwing a tantrum. It's no big deal. She'll be back in a couple of days, Tessa interjected hurriedly. Silence. The Great Elder roared, raising his staff. The staff struck Tessa hard. You lying outsider. How dare you lie in front of me? Tessa stumbled back a few steps, her face deathly pale. Great Elder, I don't understand what you mean. You don't understand? The Elder's eyes blazed with fury. The Luna's soul has clearly left her body, yet you claim she's just playing games. Great Elder, you have me wrong, she said, her eyes welling with tears. The Great Elder was merciless. You ungrateful creature. Celine's parents adopted you, loved you like their own daughter. Yet you covet her position as Luna. Your words and actions overstep your bounds. An adopted beta, and you dare dream of becoming the Luna? Tessa covered her face, tears streaming down her cheeks. Great Elder, I was just worried about my sister. Worried? The Elder sneered. Worried about when she'll finally die so you can take her place, is that it? Seeing Tessa's swollen cheek, Fenrir's face turned to ice as he moved to shield her. She is part of this family. He looked at the Great Elder, his expression blank. As long as I am here, I'd like to see anyone try to touch her. Fenrir's dominance erupted, and the temperature in the room plummeted. The Great Elder, leaning on his staff, met his gaze without flinching. Fenrir, you've lost your mind. This she-wolf is poison. She is Celine's adopted sister. Fenrir roared back. She grew up with us. On what grounds do you accuse her of meaning us harm? The great elder said, with his body trembling. Why do you think you haven't been able to find Celine? This she-wolf has been lying the entire time. Tessa hid behind Fenrir, her eyes filled with tears. Fenrir was thoroughly enraged. He took a step forward, his alpha presence overwhelming. Enough. I will not allow anyone to harm Tessa. Not even you. The great elder stared at him in shock. Fenrir, do you know what you are saying? I know perfectly well. Fenrir's eyes burned with a manic fire. Before he could finish, his flagrant disrespect for the sacred mate bond triggered a violent spiritual backlash. Waves of the moon goddess's wrath pulsed through the air. As the moon goddess's most devout follower, the great elder bore the brunt of this terrifying power. He coughed up a spray of blood, the divine backlash shattering his strength as he collapsed. My soul rushed over, trying to see how he was. Fenrir was also struck by the backlash from the mate bond. A searing pain shot through his chest, making it impossible for him to stand. Healers rushed in and carried the great elder away for emergency treatment. Hearing the news, members of the pack council rushed back from across the territory. They already held the great elder's authority in high esteem, and now they were deeply concerned. We're gone for just a few days and this happens. Alpha, if something happens to the great elder, can you bear that responsibility? The council members bombarded Fenrir with accusations. But their true anger was directed at me. Tessa saw her chance and spoke up, her voice trembling with feigned sincerity. I think maybe sister really is a bad omen. She's turned the entire pack upside down. The pack council immediately agreed. Exactly. How can she cause so much trouble while she's just missing? Does she really think her bloodline is so special? That she can do whatever she wants just because she holds the Luna title? Fenrir frowned at their words. Elders don't say that. After all, Celine's parents died to save the pack. She is one of our own, enough. An elder cut him off impatiently. Are we supposed to let the entire pack cater to her forever just because her parents were heroes? She's such a curse. If you insist on completing the Luna coronation with her, what will become of the pack? You'd be better off rejecting this walking disaster sooner rather than later. Another elder chimed in. That's right, let her get far away from here and stop plaguing our pack. Fenrir's first instinct was to refuse. He just wanted me to come back. He had never considered actually severing the mate bond. But Tessa stopped him, her eyes filled with tears as she spoke softly. Fenrir, if you keep insisting, won't that just make the elders even angrier with sister? And she glanced in the direction the great elder had been carried off. The great elder is in this state because of my sister. After a moment's thought, she offered a suggestion. To stabilize the pack, why don't we just cancel the coronation for now? No. This time, Fenrir refused without a second thought. Canceling the coronation was equivalent to stripping me of my Luna status, a mark of shame for any alpha. Given Fenrir's personality, he would never choose that path. Besides, a compliant Luna like me wasn't easy to find. But if we let her go on like this, Tessa's eyes held a flicker of resentment, which she quickly concealed. It won't just hurt her, it will cause you pain as well, Alpha. Fenrir considered for a moment, but still shook his head. The coronation is the will of the moon goddess. It cannot be lightly cancelled. That's final. I've made my decision. Back at his villa, Fenrir replayed the great elder's words in his mind. He felt that the most respected elder in the pack had no reason to lie about this. Moreover, the complete lack of any sensation from me for days was truly abnormal. Celine, you're always making your presence known, but now there's just silence. It's really as if he murmured to himself, trailing off. I floated beside him, wanting to tell him that even in death, I was still by his side. But it was no use. I could scream my lungs out and no one would hear. When I was alive, I was always bogged down with trivial matters. Now that I was dead, I finally had time to really look at the bedroom Fenrir and I shared. The nightstand was empty save for one thing, our only photo together. It was taken after the moon goddess had declared us mates. In the picture, We were holding each other tightly, our faces beaming with happiness. The light of the moon goddess shone down on us, a witness to our sacred union. Back then, I believed with all my heart that we would be happy forever, just like in that photo. I reached out a spectral hand, wanting to touch it. My fingers passed right through the glass, brushing over the innocent, smiling face that was once mine. That girl believed in love, in fate, in an alpha who would protect her forever. My soul gazed at the faded photograph and smiled bitterly. Then I slowly passed through it, a silent farewell to the girl I used to be. On the vanity was a small wooden carving, now covered in a thick layer of dust. I had given it to Fenrir for his coming-of-age ceremony. My parents had just died, and the great elder had taken me in. Everything felt so new and strange. When the elder was busy with pack affairs, Fenrir would keep me company, training with me, helping me get used to pack life. That wolf-shaped carving had taken me a full month to make. My own wolf was unstable even then, but to be worthy of a powerful alpha like him, I trained relentlessly. I would wake up at 4 every morning to practice combat skills. I wouldn't stop even when I had a high fever. "Celine, you don't have to push yourself so hard," he used to say back when he still cared. "Your body is naturally weak. Just do what you can." But I wouldn't listen. I saw the way the stronger she-warriors looked at him. I knew what they were thinking. They were questioning why such an outstanding alpha had been fated to a weak Luna like me. So I worked twice as hard. Until one day, I collapsed during training and woke up 3 days later in the medical bay. My body was never the same after that. And in the end, all it earned me was his disdainful glare. With a body like that, how can you protect the pack? You can't even manage a basic shift. What kind of Luna are you? Those words were like silver daggers, cutting into my heart one by one. It's all so laughable now. I watched Fenrir toss and turn, unable to sleep all night. Early the next morning, Tessa came over to prepare his breakfast. "I'm not in the mood to eat," Fenrir waved her away. "I'm going to the cliffs myself today." "But Fenrir, the search parties have been there for days. Sister is definitely not there. Since when do you have the right to question my decisions?" The force of his alpha command silenced Tessa. She didn't know what had gone wrong. When Fenrir finally reached the bottom of the ravine, carrion birds were already circling overhead. My body had started to rot. I watched him press a hand to his chest again and again. The closer he got to my corpse, the deeper his brow furrowed. My own soul throbbed with a tearing pain. This damned mate bond. It wouldn't let me go, even in death. Finally, at the edge of Moonridge Cliffs, Fenrir caught a familiar scent. And then the smell of blood. He carefully peered over the edge, looking behind the massive stone monument. My corpse was slumped against the rock wall, eyes shut, with barely any skin left intact. The wolfsbane toxin had left gruesome marks all over me, and my blood had long since clotted into dark red patches. On the 5th day he finally found me, and I knew it was time to go. My soul began to glow, transforming into a soft light. As my soul began to dissipate, I heard the final thought from my own heart. "Goodbye, Fenrir. The Celine who loved you is gone forever." The light grew brighter. I felt my consciousness being gently pulled away. The very instant my soul vanished, every breeze in the pack fell still. An eerie silence descended upon the air. Fenrir's heart suddenly felt hollow, as if a piece of his soul had been violently ripped away. The next second, an agonizing, soul-tearing pain exploded from the depths of his being. The wolf tattoo on his arm, the symbol of our mate bond, shattered in an instant, turning to black ash. The once shimmering silver crescent mark vanished completely. The agony of the severed mate bond struck him like lightning, a sharp blade piercing his chest, a pain beyond endurance. Even more terrifying, all the pain I had ever endured, the despair of being pushed from the cliff, the torment of the wolfsbane's poison, the anguish of being misunderstood, the loneliness of being ignored. All of it flooded his senses in that one moment. "Celine, Celine," his eyes were bloodshot. He trembled, trying to feel for our bond, but all he found was a dead, empty void. His wolf took over completely, and under the psychic shock, he collapsed into unconsciousness. Fenrir didn't know how long he was out. In his dreams, I was standing on the cliff's edge, telling him over and over, "Goodbye, Fenrir," would leap into the abyss. Celine. He shot up in bed. He was drenched in a cold sweat, the searing pain still echoing from the depths of his soul. "You're awake," Tessa said, sitting by his bed while holding a bowl of medicinal broth. "Drink this. It will help." But Fenrir didn't hear a word she said. He threw back the covers and staggered out of bed. "Where is Celine? I have to see Celine." Seeing she couldn't stop him, Tessa bit her lip, her voice thick with false sympathy as she said, "Calm down. Celine, she's dead." Fenrir looked up, his face a mask of disbelief. "What did you say?" Fenrir's perspective impossible. Fenrir violently shoved Tessa away, the gut-wrenching agony making him oblivious to her fall. He scrambled to his feet, a wild, crazed look in his eyes. "I had to find her. I have to find Celine." But the weakness from the severed mate bond sent him crashing to the ground, again and again. His knees slammed against the stone floor of the tent, and blood seeped through his pants. But the shallow wound was nothing compared to the profound torment in his soul. So he felt the pain now. But it was too late. A flicker of triumph flashed in Tessa's eyes before she quickly masked it with a sorrowful expression. "She's dead, Fenrir," she repeated, her voice trembling. "I know you don't want to accept it, but get out." Fenrir snarled, his alpha instinct making him push away the woman he had once thought he could trust. "She can't be dead. I'm going to find her." All he wanted now was to find any proof, anything at all, that she was still alive. The sunlight outside stabbed at his eyes, but he didn't care. He had to get to the cliffs. He had to see for himself. He staggered, each step feeling as if his soul was being torn from his body. He fell 3 times on his way there, his nose bleeding non-stop. But he picked himself up and kept going. "Celine," he gasped for air, feeling a piercing pain in his chest. The backlash from the severed mate bond was a fire burning in his marrow. When he finally crawled to the cliff's edge, there was nothing there. The search party had already retrieved the body. All that remained were the blood-stained rocks and the lingering stench of decay in the air. Fenrir fell to his knees, his hands clawing at the dirt. No, impossible, but the hollow feeling in his chest told him she was truly gone. The agony of having a piece of his soul violently ripped away forced him to accept a cruel truth. It was already dark when Fenrir returned to the pack. He stormed directly into their bedroom. The moment he pushed open the door, he froze. The room was completely empty. The photo on the nightstand was gone. Everything on the vanity was gone. Even her closet was empty. The wolf-shaped pillow, the moonlight flower essential oil on the vanity, the jasmine she grew on the windowsill, all gone. It was as if she had never lived here. What is the meaning of this? Fenrir's voice trembled. The housekeeper emerged from behind the door, trembling. "Alpha, it was an order from the pack council. They said it was to rid the pack of a bad omen and prepare for the new Luna's arrival." Fenrir's fists clenched, his knuckles cracking. "New Luna. Miss Tessa, she is to be the new Luna. The elders said that since the previous Luna is already—" "Shut your mouth." Fenrir let out a deafening roar, his alpha's power instantly flooding the room. The housekeeper was forced to his knees, shaking uncontrollably. Fenrir stormed out of the room, heading straight for the council hall. Before he even reached the door, he could hear the discussion inside. "Celine is dead. According to pack tradition, we must hold a funeral for her, then announce the succession of the new Luna. Yes, the longer we delay, the more damage it does to the pack's reputation. Tessa has a pure bloodline and she saved the Alpha. She's the most suitable candidate. As for Celine's body, let's just bury her in a common grave. Don't let her be laid to rest in the temple. The coronation is set for next week. It must be grand, to make everyone forget that ill-fated woman." Fenrir kicked the great doors of the council hall open. The elders jumped, turning to stare at him. "Fenrir? How could you, Celine's things? Who burned them?" His voice was terrifyingly low, his eyes fixed on them, unblinking. "Well, we felt that since she was already—" "Who was it?" Fenrir roared, and the glass in the entire hall vibrated. Several of the older elders nearly fainted under the force of his alpha power. It was a collective decision. Miss Tessa said those things would bring bad luck to the pack. Fenrir's sanity finally snapped. The truths that had flooded him when the bond shattered crashed over him as he stared at the faces of the people before him. Celine's despair before death, her pain, her anguish, it all flashed through his mind in a horrific sequence. And he, her alpha, her mate, had chosen not to believe her, chosen to abandon her when she needed him most. Blood trickled from the corners of his eyes, dripping onto the floor. His soul's trauma had taken a physical toll, making him look like a demon fresh from hell. Fenrir's crimson eyes swept over every person present. You burned all of my mate's belongings, planned to bury her in a common grave, and are now propping someone else up to take her place? Every one of you is complicit in Celine's death. Fenrir spoke each word, his voice hoarse. From this day on, hunting down the murderer is the only thing I will do. Fenrir, what do you mean by that? An elder stood up. Celine's death was just an accident. An accident? Fenrir whirled on him. 5 days. She was dead for 5 whole days. And what were you doing? Burning her remains? Discussing the coronation ceremony for a new Luna. The elders exchanged glances, feeling a fear they had never known before. The alpha standing before them was completely different from the one they knew. And this new Luna you speak of? Fenrir slowly turned, his gaze landing on Tessa, who was hiding in a corner of the hall. Her face instantly turned deathly white. She has ulterior motives and is the prime suspect. Lock her in the dungeons. No one is to visit her without my permission. After the guards dragged a screaming Tessa away, the council hall fell into a dead silence. Fenrir ignored the terrified elders and walked straight out the door. The cliffs. He had to go back to that place. Back to where Celine had died. It was deep in the night, and pale moonlight spilled onto the rubble at the bottom of the ravine. Fenrir knelt where he had found her body, his hands frantically turning over every stone. There has to be something else. The blood had long since dried, but the stench of decay still lingered. He imagined her final moments, imagined the agony of her death. His fingers brushed against something cold and metallic. In the crevice of a massive boulder, a small, silver dagger reflected the moonlight. Fenrir recognized this dagger. It was forged by the pack's finest silversmith. You'd be hard-pressed to find another like it in the entire werewolf world. It was the gift he had given Tessa for her coming-of-age ceremony. A reward for being the pack's bravest she-warrior, for winning first place in a competition. So it was you, he whispered, his hand tightening around the hilt. The silver blade glinted coldly in the moonlight. Just as he was about to get up, he heard footsteps behind him. Alpha. His second-in-command, Marcus, approached cautiously, holding something in his hand. Someone asked me to give this to you. Marcus handed him a transparent crystal. Who gave it to you? The Omega you demoted to servant duties. He said it was important, that you had to see it. A memory crystal. A sacred artifact used by wolf packs to preserve important memories. Fenrir took the crystal, feeling the powerful energy sealed within it. The crystal activated, and a blue projection expanded in the air. The image showed only Tessa. She stood beside Celine. Her beta aura radiated a venomous, murderous intent. We're sisters. Why would I ever hurt you? Tessa gently took Celine's hand, leading her step by step to the cliff's edge. Then, without warning, she shoved Celine hard. Just die. The pack doesn't need a weak Luna. Celine's scream tore through the night as her body plummeted toward the ravine below. The image shifted to Tessa, her true nature finally revealed. Celine, do you have any idea how much of a nuisance you are? If it weren't for you, you weak waste of space, the title of Luna would have been mine long ago. You're just like your stupid parents. You all should have died sooner. Celine's parents, heroes who had sacrificed themselves to save the pack, who had also raised Tessa, were now being insulted by her like this. She sneered, taking out the dagger and slicing a deep gash in her own arm. Then she threw the dagger off the cliff, faking the signs of a struggle. Fenrir. Help. My sister, she pushed me. Her acting was flawless, the tears coming on command. When the vision ended, the mountain forest fell deathly still. All eyes turned to Fenrir in stunned silence. Fenrir slowly clenched his fist, and the crystal shattered into dust in his palm. So this is the accident you were all discussing. His voice was as cold as ice. No one dared to answer. When Fenrir returned to the pack, he headed straight for the dungeons. Marcus followed behind him, asking cautiously, "Alpha, are you going to interrogate her?" The dungeon was dark and damp. The iron door screeched as it opened. Tessa was huddled in a corner. The moment she saw Fenrir, she scrambled over and hugged his legs. "Fenrir, you finally came to see me. I knew you wouldn't abandon me." Fenrir kicked her away and tossed the dagger in front of her. "Explain this." The moment Tessa saw the dagger, her face turned ashen. That's not mine. I gave it to you myself on your coming-of-age day. Your name is even engraved on the hilt. There's only one like it in the entire werewolf world." Her lie had crumbled. She knew she couldn't hide it any longer. "I can explain, none of this was my idea." "Then whose was it?" "It was Sean. My brother Sean. He said if I got rid of Celine, I could become the Luna." "How long have you two been planning this?" "Not long, just a few months, Fenrir. I was forced. I truly love you. It's only because I love you so much." "Months." So, while he was showing favoritism toward Tessa every day, while he was leaving an injured Celine alone to help Tessa with her training, this vicious woman had been plotting her murder. And he had trusted her like family. The thought made Fenrir want to turn a silver blade on himself. "Celine was so good to you. Why did you kill her?" Perhaps he had struck a nerve, because Tessa's act fell away completely. The venom in her eyes was unmistakable. Good. Why was she so damn lucky? A pure bloodline, chosen by the moon goddess, mated to the strongest alpha. And me? I have nothing. I'm stronger than her, smarter than her, and a better fit to be Luna. Why didn't the moon goddess choose me? So you killed her? Her death is better for everyone. She was so weak, she would have dragged the whole pack down sooner or later. Fenrir had heard enough of her madness. "Marcus, bring Sean here." "He's already fled, Alpha. On the night you collapsed." Fenrir slammed a fist against the mottled stone wall. He was a step too late. "Deploy everyone. I want him found, even if you have to tear the world apart to do it." But even if the mastermind had fled, his accomplice was here. Neither of these venomous siblings would escape. At this, Tessa finally broke. She burst into maniacal laughter, her eyes wild. She laughed hysterically, the sound echoing through the dungeon, chilling everyone to the bone. "Ha ha ha, Fenrir, do you think catching us will absolve you of your sins? You think I'm the murderer? No. The real murderer is you. It was your constant suspicion and disgust that killed her. It was you who never believed her. You who made the whole pack look down on her. Even without me, your coldness would have driven her to her death sooner or later. You will never ever earn her forgiveness." Those words, like the sharpest claws, ripped Fenrir's heart to shreds. Yes, Fenrir. He was the one who had truly killed Celine. All Tessa did was give the final push. You will never ever earn her forgiveness. Tessa's insane laughter echoed through the dungeon, every note like a curse from hell. Fenrir stood there, his whole body trembling. Blood seeped from between his clenched knuckles, dripping onto the damp stone floor. It wasn't from anger, but because she was right. He was the one who had truly killed Celine. Every moment of coldness, every word of blame, every scornful glance, they were all daggers plunged into her heart. "Marcus," he growled, his voice so hoarse it sounded like it had been scraped with sandpaper. "Alpha, what are your orders?" "Sean? Have you found him?" "Our men found him in the abandoned mines in the north. He's badly injured and is being brought back now." An hour later, a battered Sean was dragged into the dungeon. His face was swollen beyond recognition, and his left arm was bent at an unnatural angle, clearly broken. Seeing Fenrir's blood-red eyes, Sean immediately knelt to beg for mercy. "Alpha, I was wrong. It was all Tessa. She forced me. She said if I didn't help her, she'd tell you I stole grain from the pack." "Shut up," Tessa screamed, her eyes shooting daggers of poison. "You were the one who said we should kill Celine. You said she'd drag the whole pack down. You're lying. You were the one who was jealous of her. You said she didn't deserve the strongest alpha." The siblings turned on each other, shifting blame like two rabid dogs. Fenrir watched them coldly. This was the family he had once trusted. These were the people he had hurt Celine to protect. Enough. Fenrir's voice wasn't loud, but his alpha power surged out like a tide, instantly silencing the two. The very air grew thick, pressing down on them until they could barely breathe. Do you remember how Celine's parents died? Sean and Tessa looked at each other, too afraid to answer. They died to save the pack, torn apart by scavenging wolves. Every word Fenrir spoke was laced with frost. I saw their bodies with my own eyes when they were brought back, their bones exposed. And you, his voice suddenly rose, dare to kill their only daughter. The temperature in the dungeon seemed to drop 10 degrees. Fenrir remembered how Celine had looked as a child, trembling behind the great elder after losing her parents. She had needed so much protection then, so much love. And what had he given her? Since you two love deception and betrayal so much, you will never have the chance to do it again. He turned to Marcus. Sever them from their wolves. What? No. Tessa's voice was as sharp as shattering glass. For a werewolf, being severed from their wolf was like losing half their soul, a complete stripping of their dignity. Fenrir, I'm begging you, Sean cried, crawling towards him, snot and tears smearing his face. Just kill me. Don't take my wolf. I'll pay with my life. Fenrir looked down at him, his eyes void of pity. Your lives? What are your lives worth? Marcus, do as I say. The silver dagger glinted coldly in the moonlight. Marcus gritted his teeth and plunged the blade into the specific point beside each of their hearts. Blood-curdling screams echoed through the dungeon, so loud the walls seemed to shake. Tessa and Sean writhed in agony on the floor, as if 1,000 snakes were slithering through their bodies. Their wolf forms were completely destroyed, their souls torn in half. But it wasn't enough. Not nearly enough. Break their limbs. Alpha Marcus hesitated. Do it. Marcus closed his eyes and raised a heavy mallet. Crack, crack. Each snap of breaking bone sounded like a death knell. Tessa and Sean collapsed in a pool of blood, their limbs twisted at grotesque angles, unable to ever stand again. The stench of blood filled the dungeon, more potent than the decay that had clung to Celine's corpse. Throw them into the northern barrens. Leave them in the territory of the scavenging wolves. Alpha, the scavenging wolves there will tear them apart alive. Marcus's voice trembled. I know. Fenrir's voice was devoid of all warmth, as if it came from the depths of hell. Let them taste what it's like to be slowly torn apart. Just like, his voice choked for a second. Just like Celine. Guards entered and threw burlap sacks over the two broken figures. Tessa was in too much pain to speak, able to manage only weak groans. Sean struggled inside his sack, crying out in desperation. Fenrir, we were wrong, please, just give us a quick death. Quick! Fenrir sneered. When Celine was dying, did you give her a quick death? The sound of dragging faded, and the dungeon returned to silence. His revenge was complete. But Fenrir felt no satisfaction, only a deeper emptiness. He collapsed onto the blood-stained floor, and buried his face in his hands. What good did killing her murderers do? Celine wouldn't come back to life. She would never return to forgive him, never look at him again with those gentle eyes. He had killed the siblings, but he could not kill the regret in his own heart. Fenrir staggered to his feet, his steps as heavy as if he were treading on his own heart. Returning to their bedroom, the empty space felt colder than a tomb. Moonlight streamed through the window onto the empty bed where his Luna once lay. The elders had burned almost everything of hers. But in the deepest, most hidden corner of the closet, he found an old robe. It was one Celine had worn when she first came to the pack, the pale blue fabric yellowed with age, with tiny, hand-stitched patches on it. She had sewn them herself. Fenrir clutched the robe, his legs giving out as he fell to his knees. A faint scent of moonlight flower, her favorite, still clung to the fabric. And the smell of sunshine, from the time she would hang laundry in the garden. Now this was the last trace of her left in this world. Celine, his voice trembled, and the tears finally broke free. This once powerful alpha was now like a child who had lost everything. Come back. I'm begging you, come back and punish me. I'll endure any pain, as long as you come back. But only the moonlight answered him, cold and indifferent. Fenrir clutched the old robe and sobbed in the empty room. His tears fell onto the fabric, as if trying to wash away the last remnants of her scent. Outside, an owl hooted, its cry shrill and desperate, as if mourning the dead Luna. And in the northern barrens, the scavenging wolves had caught the scent of blood and were slowly closing in. 2 burlap sacks lay alone under the moonlight, faint cries for help coming from within. But no one was coming to save them, just as no one had saved Celine. Celine's perspective. When I opened my eyes, the sunlight was spilling gently across my face. The air was filled with the scent of flowers. Jasmine, rose, lavender. The mixed fragrances created a sense of peace I had never known. I sat up and found myself on a soft bed. The room was small but cozy. White curtains danced in the sea breeze, and in the distance, I could hear the sound of waves crashing against reefs. On the nightstand were a few items: a brand new ID card, a bank card, and a pale blue note. I picked up the note. In elegant handwriting it said, "Forget the past, embrace a new life." Forget the past? I frowned, only then realizing I couldn't remember anything at all. What was my name? Where did I come from? Why was I here? All that remained in my mind was a faint awareness of being a werewolf living in the human world. Everything else was a blank slate. But strangely, I didn't feel any panic. Instead, I felt a sense of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted. I picked up the ID card. Celine Miller, 25 years old, resident of Seaside City. Seaside City, it sounded lovely. The bank card had enough money for me to live on for a while. I got up and walked to the window, pushing it open. The sea breeze, smelling of salt and freedom, brushed against my face. The azure sea stretched to the horizon, and gulls soared freely in the sky. This place made me feel a sense of endless possibility. I smiled, a genuine smile from the heart. 3 months later, I had completely adapted to my new life. I found a job at a local art gallery and started taking commissions as a freelance artist. My boss, Emma, was a kind middle-aged woman who always praised my work for its spiritual quality. "Celine, your paintings are always so full of hope," she would say. "They simply make people happy." I love to paint sunshine, waves, flowers, all things beautiful. The brush danced in my hand, colors blooming on the canvas. Every painting felt like a celebration of life. I rented a small apartment by the sea, and would take a walk on the beach every morning. The sun would warm my skin, the waves would lap at my ankles. I felt a freedom and happiness I had never known before. Only sometimes at night, I would have strange dreams. Dreams of a cliff, of darkness, of endless despair. And a blurry figure, someone who seemed to be calling my name. But every time I woke up to the sun and the sea outside my window, I would just shake my head. It was only a nightmare. Fenrir's perspective. Fenrir had been searching the packlands for 3 months. For 3 months, he had barely slept a peaceful night. The severed mate bond was a wound that would never heal, burning his soul day and night. Every heartbeat was pain, every breath was torment. "Still no news?" he asked Marcus. "Alpha, we've sent men to search the entire northern territory. There's no sign of the Luna." "Keep looking," Fenrir roared. "She has to be out there somewhere. The moon goddess wouldn't just take her away like this." Marcus looked at his Alpha, his heart filled with worry. Fenrir had grown so thin he was almost unrecognizable, his eyes sunken, his cheekbones sharp. He refused to eat, refused to rest, frantically clinging to a hope that might not even exist. "Alpha, perhaps you should." I said, "Keep looking." Fenrir's Alpha power erupted, and Marcus immediately fell to his knees. The man Fenrir had become was more powerful than before, but also more dangerous. The pain and despair had caused his strength to surge, but it had also made him extremely unstable. The entire pack walked on eggshells, terrified of provoking their Alpha, who could lose control at any moment. The Great Elder entered the room and sighed, looking at Fenrir's haggard state. "Fenrir, it's time to hold a funeral for Celine." "No." Fenrir spun around and glared at him. "She's not dead. She's just somewhere else. My boy, we all saw her body. That wasn't her." Fenrir shook his head frantically. "That was just a shell. Her soul must have been reborn somewhere. The moon goddess will give us a second chance. She has to." The Great Elder looked at the once proud and powerful Alpha, who now seemed as desperate as a lost child. Fenrir, even if she were truly reborn, do you think she would ever forgive you? He collapsed into a chair, his head in his hands. I know she won't forgive me, his voice trembled. But I can't give up. I have to find her, apologize to her, even if she never forgives me. At least let me know she's alive. The great elder was silent for a long time before finally speaking. Then hold a funeral for her first. Give her a proper farewell and give the pack closure. A week later, the grandest funeral in the pack's history was held. Fenrir used all his wealth to give Celine the best of everything. A coffin forged from gold, a path paved with moonlight flowers, and the entire temple decorated like a paradise. The empty coffin was placed in the deepest part of the moon temple, the resting place of Luna's past. Fenrir knelt before the coffin, his trembling hands placing a bouquet of Celine's favorite moonlight flowers on top. Celine, I know you're watching me from somewhere. I know you hate me. I hate myself too. But please give me a chance. Let me find you. I would trade anything to have you back, including my life. His voice echoed in the temple, but there was no response. Only cold stone walls and endless silence. Celine's perspective. Excuse me, is this spot taken? I was concentrating on painting the sunset on the rocks by the sea, and was startled by the sudden voice. I turned to see a tall man standing behind me. He had gentle brown eyes, and the sunlight caught in his golden hair. Unlike the other men who often tried to hit on me, his gaze was respectful, free of any unwelcome, invasive feeling. Of course not. I shifted my easel to make room for him. You're very good, he said, sitting down. His eyes fell on my canvas. This sea is beautiful, but you've painted its soul. I looked at him, surprised. Most people who saw my paintings would just say it's pretty, or it's realistic. Few could see the emotion in them. Thank you. Do you paint? A little. I'm Cole, he said, extending his hand. Celine. I shook his hand. His hand was warm, with a reassuring strength. From that day on, Cole often appeared where I was painting. Sometimes he would sit quietly beside me, reading a book. Other times, we would chat. He never disturbed my work, but he was always there when I needed him, like helping me carry my heavy art supplies or holding down my easel when the sea breeze was too strong. What do you do for work? I asked him one day, curious. Family business, he answered with a smile. It's quite boring. Not nearly as interesting as your job. Cole was always like that, gentle and chivalrous. He was never overly familiar, nor did he ever pressure me into anything. Being with him, I felt more at ease than I ever had before. A month later, he officially asked me on a date. Celine, would you like to have dinner with me? I looked into his sincere eyes and nodded. It was the most wonderful dinner of my life. Cole took me to a small restaurant by the sea. We ate seafood while watching the lighthouse in the distance. You know, the first time I saw you, I was drawn to you, Cole said. Not because of your looks, but because of the freedom in your eyes. Freedom? I was a little confused. Yes, you're like a seagull, free and beautiful. No one had ever described me like that before. I felt a gentle touch on a place deep in my heart. Over the next few months, our relationship developed steadily. Cole would take care of me when I was sick and massage my shoulders when I was tired from work. He respected my work and supported my dreams. Most importantly, he never tried to change me. You're perfect, Celine, he once told me. You don't need to change for anyone. His words moved me so much I almost cried. Though I couldn't remember my past, a voice inside me told me that no one had ever accepted me so unconditionally. Fenrir's perspective. Alpha, we have news. Marcus rushed into the room, a report in his hand. Fenrir shot up, his eyes burning with the flame of hope. After 3 months of searching, he had sent men across most of the continent. Where? Seaside City. Our men have confirmed it. There's an artist there named Celine Miller. Her physical description is a perfect match. Fenrir shot to his feet, nearly knocking over the table. We leave now. Get the car ready. Alpha, but what? According to our investigation, she seems to have someone new. A man named Cole. He also appears to be a werewolf, from a northern pack. A dangerous light flashed in Fenrir's eyes. I don't care who she's with. She is my Luna. Nothing will ever change that. 2 days later, Fenrir arrived in Seaside City with his elite guards. He looked like a demon fresh from hell, his eyes sunken and his face pale. But those eyes still burned with a mad obsession. Find her, he commanded his subordinates. Celine's perspective. On New Year's Eve, Cole asked me to watch the fireworks with him by the sea. The whole city was celebrating, and the sky bloomed with brilliant fireworks. It's so beautiful, I exclaimed, pointing at the sky. Cole looked at me gently. It certainly is. But he wasn't looking at the fireworks. He was looking at me. My face grew slightly warm, and my heart beat faster. Celine. Cole called my name softly. I love you. 3 simple words, but they lit up my entire world. I looked into his gentle eyes and for the first time, felt what it was like to be loved. Before I could finish, a figure rushed toward us like a madman, roughly grabbing my wrist. Celine! A hoarse voice rang in my ear. I turned to see a strange and terrifying face, skeletally thin, with sunken eyes and disheveled hair. Who are you? Let go of me. I tried to pull away, but his grip was astonishingly strong. Celine, it's me. It's Fenrir. How can you not know me? Cole reacted instantly, shielding me behind him. Let her go. He released his powerful alpha aura. 2 powerful alphas faced off, and the tension crackled in the air, silencing the entire beach. The humans around us felt an inexplicable pressure and backed away. Fenrir stared at Cole, who stood protectively in front of me, his blood-red eyes filled with jealousy and madness. She is my mate. My Luna. Get out of my way. You need to calm down. Cole's voice was low and dangerous. She clearly doesn't know you. Fenrir's eyes were fixed on me, the madness in them sending a chill down my spine. Doesn't know me? Impossible. We are fated mates. He tried to grab me again, but Cole blocked him. Sir, I don't know who you are, but please stay away from me. I said from behind Cole, my voice trembling. This man named Fenrir filled me with a strange sense of dread. Seeing him stirred a strange revulsion in my heart, and even a flicker of pain. I can't explain. Fenrir suddenly dropped to his knees. Celine, give me a chance. Let me tell you the truth. Cole frowned at him. What do you want? I want to talk to her alone. Fenrir's voice was laced with desperation. Just once. 1 hour. If she still doesn't believe me, I'll leave. Impossible. Cole refused immediately. But I hesitated. This man's eyes, though crazed, I could see the pain in them. And the things he mentioned made me feel a faint sense of unease. Cole, let me talk to him. Celine, that's too dangerous. We'll be in the cafe right there. You can wait outside. I squeezed Cole's hand. I need to know the truth. I needed to understand my past. Half an hour later, I was sitting in the seaside cafe, across from the stranger named Fenrir. Up close, he looked even more haggard. His eyes were bloodshot, and his fingers trembled non-stop. You say we know each other. Prove it, I said, getting straight to the point. Fenrir pulled a worn photo album from his coat. These are our pictures. He opened it to the first page, revealing a photo of a young man and woman. The girl did look like me, but her expression was timid as she clung to the man beside her. The man was young and handsome, his eyes full of adoration. This was our mating ceremony, Fenrir said, pointing to the photo. The moon goddess chose us as mates. I stared at the girl in the picture. Her eyes were so cautious, as if she were afraid of losing something. And then, Fenrir turned the page to a photo from the training grounds. It was the same girl, but this time she was covered in injuries, barely able to stand. You trained desperately to be worthy of me. His voice began to choke. But I scorned you for being too weak. Scorned me? I frowned. Yes, Fenrir closed his eyes in pain. I always blamed you, said you were a burden to me, to the pack. Every photo that followed told a different part of the story. The girl grew thinner and weaker, the light in her eyes dimming. The man in turn grew colder, more impatient. You killed me, I blurted out suddenly. Fenrir's head snapped up. You remember? No, I shook my head. But I can see it in these photos. This girl lived a miserable life, didn't she? Fenrir's tears finally fell. Yes. The one who actually killed you was a woman named Tessa. She was like a sister to you. She was jealous of you, so she pushed you off a cliff. You died from wolfsbane poisoning. Every word was like a hammer blow to my heart. Even without memories, hearing this made me feel sick. And you? I looked at him coldly. Where were you when she was pushed off that cliff? Fenrir's face turned deathly pale. I believed Tessa's lies. I thought you had pushed her, so you chose another woman and abandoned your own Luna. No. I found out the truth later. I killed Tessa and her brother. I avenged you. I listened to his hysterical defense with nothing but revulsion. If all of this is true, I began slowly, then it only proves one thing. What? As my alpha you failed. Utterly. Fenrir looked as if he'd been struck by lightning, frozen in place. Celine, you let your Luna live in misery, let her be bullied, let her die in despair. I stood up. And now you come looking for me, talking about atonement? It's too late. No. Let me explain. Fenrir jumped up, trying to grab me. Forgetting everything was probably the moon goddess's greatest gift to me. I took a few steps back, my eyes full of disgust. I'm happy and free now. I have someone who truly loves and respects me. I don't need your atonement, and I don't need your explanation. A crazed light flashed in Fenrir's eyes. You are mine, he roared, lunging at me. You will always be my Luna. Just then, the cafe door burst open. Cole rushed in and threw a punch, catching Fenrir squarely in the face. Fenrir fell to the floor, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. How dare you touch her? Cole roared in fury. I walked to Cole's side and took one last look at Fenrir. He lay on the ground, his eyes filled with despair and defeat. Sir, please don't ever disturb my life again. My voice was cold and firm. I may have been your Luna once, but now, I am just Celine. Fenrir's perspective. Let me go. I have to go back to her. After being dragged back to the pack, Fenrir was still struggling madly, but the elite pack guards held his arms in a death grip. Marcus stood to the side, his eyes full of disappointment. Alpha, you've lost control. Cole has filed a complaint with the Pack Alliance, accusing you of attempting to kidnap his mate. She is not his mate. She is my Luna. Fenrir's roar echoed through the council hall, but the elders present all hung their heads, not daring to meet his gaze. The once powerful and rational Alpha now looked like a crazed beast. Enough! An ancient, authoritative voice came from the doorway. The great elder, leaning on his staff, walked slowly into the room. His face was etched with exhaustion, but his eyes burned with an angry fire. All of you leave. As if granted a pardon, the elders quickly departed, leaving only Fenrir and the great elder. Do you have any idea what you are doing? The great elder's voice trembled. You went to the human world to abduct an innocent girl. She is not an innocent girl. She is Celine. No, she is not. The great elder struck the floor hard with his staff. The Celine who loved you is dead. She died in your coldness and your suspicion. The woman you saw is a new soul, gifted to her by the moon goddess. Fenrir froze. What do you mean? The great elder didn't answer. Instead, he turned and walked toward the door. Follow me. They went to the moon temple. Celine's empty coffin lay silently in the temple's deepest chamber, surrounded by withered moonlight flowers. Kneel, the great elder commanded. Fenrir hesitated for a moment before kneeling in front of the coffin. The soul-tearing pain you feel is the consequence of a severed mate bond. The great elder began slowly. But do you know why it hurts so much? Fenrir shook his head. Because it wasn't just the severing of a bond. The great elder's voice was filled with deep sorrow. It was the flood of all of Celine's suffering, flowing back into you. Every injustice she endured, every moment of despair, every heartbreak she suffered in life, at the moment the bond broke, all of it flooded into your soul. Fenrir's body began to tremble. So this pain, this is how she felt, he murmured to himself. Yes. The great elder nodded. And the moon goddess, out of pity, took away her love for you and all her painful memories, and granted her a new soul. The girl painting by the sea is no longer your Celine. She is a new person, with a new life, and a new love. Fenrir stared at the empty coffin, the madness in his eyes gradually fading. I can never get her back, can I? No, the great elder sighed. The pain in your soul is your eternal punishment for having killed that love with your own hands. Fenrir let her go. Tears mixed with blood slid from the corners of Fenrir's eyes, dripping onto the cold stone floor. He finally understood. It wasn't the moon goddess who was cruel. It was he who had destroyed the gift fate had bestowed upon him. The reborn girl had found true happiness, while he was doomed to live out his days in endless agony. This was the punishment he deserved. I promise, he said with great difficulty. I won't disturb her again. I will never seek another mate. Let solitude be my eternal penance. The great elder nodded in relief. That is the only thing you can do for her now. He turned to leave but paused at the door. You destroyed the destiny the goddess gave you. Now spend the rest of your life guarding the new one she was given. Watch from a distance, do not disturb. That is your only salvation. Celine's perspective. After the man named Fenrir was forcibly taken back to his pack, my life with Cole in the human world returned to peace. When Cole proposed, I didn't hesitate for a second. The brief turmoil brought by that stranger had only made me more certain that the man before me was my future. Warm applause echoed through the sunlit chapel. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, casting a golden glow on my white wedding dress, as if gilding this beautiful moment. I do, Cole said, squeezing my hand. I promise to love and cherish you for the rest of my life, to respect you, and to never let any harm come to you. My eyes filled with happy tears. These were the vows I had dreamed of, a promise of pure love and protection. The priest smiled and announced, You may now kiss the bride. Cole gently cupped my face and kissed my lips. The chapel erupted in even more enthusiastic applause and blessings. I looked around and saw only faces genuinely happy for us. Cole's family, members of the Sunstone Pack, and the friends I had made in the human world. Every single person was smiling, genuinely happy for me. This feeling of being truly accepted and blessed filled my heart with warmth. I love you, Celine, Cole whispered in my ear. I love you too, Cole. We walked out of the chapel into a shower of flower petals. Children laughed and circled around us, and Cole's mother watched with tears of joy in her eyes. Welcome to the family, my child, she said, hugging me. The evening celebration was even grander. The entire seaside resort was decorated like a fairy tale. Cole and I shared our first dance amidst the blessings of the crowd. Are you happy? Cole asked me. Very happy, I said, resting my head on his chest. I never imagined I could be this happy. This is just the beginning, Cole said, kissing my forehead. We have a lifetime ahead of us. As the music played, I closed my eyes, savoring this hard-won happiness. Just then, I felt a strange sensation, as if someone were watching me from a distance. I opened my eyes and glanced toward a corner of the venue. A blurry figure stood there, but when I tried to get a clearer look, the figure was gone. What's wrong? Cole asked with concern. Nothing. I shook my head, smiling again. I must have been seeing things. I immersed myself once more in my happiness. Whatever had happened in the past, I now had true love and a life filled with respect. That was more than enough. Fenrir's perspective. Following the great elder's words, Fenrir truly never disturbed Celine again. But when he heard the news of her wedding, the pain in his heart nearly tore him apart. He knew he shouldn't go, knew it would only bring him more agony. But he went anyway. Just as the great elder had said, he watched from a distance, without disturbing her. Fenrir stood in the darkest corner of the venue, watching it all. No one noticed him. He had learned how to hide his aura, how to exist like a ghost. Celine, in her pure white wedding dress, wore a smile of such happiness that he had never seen before. It was a joy so genuine, so pure, that he could hardly bear to look at it. When she danced with Cole, her eyes held only him. That trust and affection, that sense of complete safety and acceptance, he once had the chance to have all of that. But he had destroyed it with his own hands. Cole said something that made her laugh, her head thrown back in delight. Her laughter was as clear as silver bells, echoing through the hall. Everyone was infected by her joy, and the hall filled with warm laughter. Fenrir remembered their mating ceremony. She had worn a white dress then too, but her eyes were filled with cautious anxiety. She was afraid of doing something wrong, afraid of not being accepted, afraid of losing him. But the woman before him now was free and radiant, like the seagulls by the sea. She's truly beautiful, isn't she? Fenrir turned to see Cole's mother standing beside him. You can see me? Your pain is too deep to ignore, the old woman sighed. You are that Fenrir, aren't you? Fenrir didn't deny it. She's happy, he managed to say, his voice strained. Yes, the old woman nodded. It's as if she's been reborn. You should leave now, she said, her tone gentle but firm. Don't disturb her new life. Fenrir nodded. He had come here only to see her one last time, to see her truly happy. The music ended and the newlyweds walked toward the cake. Fenrir turned to leave. Just then Celine suddenly glanced back in his direction. Their eyes met across the distance. Her brow furrowed slightly, as if she sensed something. But it was only for a moment. Cole took her hand, and she continued forward. She shook her head and smiled again. Fenrir knew that to her, he was only a stranger, a person who didn't exist in her memory, he turned and vanished into the night like a ghost. Returning to the empty, tomb-like residence of the Alpha, Fenrir finally collapsed. He slid down against the door, and with the soul-tearing agony that would never fade, he wept silently in a world of his own. In the vast residence of the Alpha. The scent of its Luna was gone forever. All that was left was a foolish wolf who had lost his moonlight, and the endless regret and solitude that came with it. Celine's perspective, 5 years later. Mommy, this flower smells so good. My 4-year-old daughter Luna ran to my side, holding a freshly picked jasmine flower. It does, sweetie. I set down my paintbrush and picked her up. Do you like it? I love it. It smells just like you. I smiled and kissed her little cheek. Cole came out of the house, holding our 1-year-old son River in his arms. Are you finished? He asked, walking over to my easel. Almost, I said, looking at the seascape on the canvas. The sunset is especially beautiful today. Cole kissed the corner of my mouth. Your painting is even more beautiful. For the past 5 years, our life had been peaceful and happy. My paintings became more and more popular, while Cole focused on running his family business. Our 2 children were healthy and happy, and our love for each other only deepened. Sometimes at night, I still had strange dreams. Dreams of a cliff of darkness, and of a blurry man calling my name. But every time I woke up to see my sleeping husband and children beside me, I would dismiss it as just a bad dream. This life, right here, was what was real. Mommy, can we come to the beach to paint again tomorrow? Luna asked expectantly. Of course, I said, ruffling her hair. We'll paint the sunrise tomorrow, how about that? Yay. Cole packed up the art supplies, and our family of 4 walked hand in hand toward home. The sun was setting, the sea breeze was gentle, and everything was perfect. I had a husband who loved me, adorable children, and art that I was passionate about. This was the life I had always wanted.